Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. Happy MLK Day as well. Nick Marro here with Jayhawk to help you break down today's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. With it being a holiday, we have these games locking at 1 p.m. Eastern today. Actually, 2 p.m. Eastern. So we get about an hour to get over through this stream and then into Discord where Jayhawk is on double duty today. We're probably going to go up till about, I think, 1:40 Eastern, and then we'll hop off and Jayhawk will be over there while we finalize lineups. But Jayhawk, happy Monday. What's your initial take on this slate?
Yeah, man, we have a pretty fun one here. Nice little five gamer. Um, Somewhat of big news with Evan Mobley out, but excited to break this down, man. Per usual, let's get into it.
Yeah, we got 10 teams. Very easy to go team by team. I'll try to get to as much chat as I can today, guys. Shout out Rare Finch here saying need a winning lineup. If we got time at the end, we'll do a dummy build. And Heath here saying, what's up, fellas? Unicorn Love, as always. Good afternoon. All right, so let's get right into it, man. Again, we are at I don't know. We got to budget our time here. So first game on the slate, we get the Pistons at the Rockets, 222.5 point total. On the Pistons side of things, still no Jaden Ivey. It's really the one significant piece of injury news over there. Let's start with them. I mean, obviously, Cade looks good here. A little bit surprised he's not a bit more popular. Not the best matchup, obviously. Houston is a pretty good defense. But yeah, I mean, no one here really drawing much ownership. If Arthur Thompson starts again, I don't mind him his value. Just keep in mind he hasn't been closing. I always mention Malik Beasley if he's going to come off the bench as kind of a sneaky tournament dart. I don't know if there's anything here I'm prioritizing necessarily. Obviously, Cade looks fine, but how about you, Jayhawk? What are you looking at on these Pistons right now?
Yeah, pretty much on the same page here. I think Cade is fine up top. I don't love the matchup here, like you mentioned. He's in pretty tough matchup, but he's still in play here at his price. And then Jalen Duren and Stewart are both picking up sub 10% here. I don't necessarily love the matchup for them either, so it's probably just Cade for me. But yeah, Detroit here is kind of a tough team to get to.
Yeah, they definitely are, and it's more the matchup than anything, and that they're healthier than they have been lately. But yeah, I think Cade's fine, and it's more just the ownership. It's not that like I love him as a smash play or anything, but sub 10% on just a 5 game slate with that upside definitely appealing. I will say Hardaway Jr.'s been shooting a little bit better lately. If you're desperate for value, I don't know that I get there, but yeah, I like the Duren shout. I actually think he's a viable center. We're gonna talk through the slate though and find that we have a lot of great centers in that range, so I think that's
Yeah.
why he's not getting a ton of love, but. Let's move over to the Houston side. Things a little bit more interesting. We got no Jabari Smith, and Amon Thompson was ruled in. So they did just get Eason back. They're a little bit deeper than they have been. I mean, Sengun looks good here, but like I just mentioned, there's a lot of good centers on this slate. We did get a game without Van Fleet, where Green and Thompson looked excellent. I think if I'm playing anything in the backcourt, it's I wanted to say Thompson, but I kind of like Green for a little bit of a discount. I thought the ownership would be kind of more ridiculous between these two, both not getting as much love as they have been. I think these two are probably my favorites, being Thompson and Green. Don't know that I get to much else. I know Whitmore's been putting up decent numbers off the bench, but with pretty much everyone back now except for Jabari Smith, I don't know that I can get to him. So I like the backcourt here. I'm fine kind of not getting to a ton of Van Fleet. More on DK today. If I was on FanDuel, I'd probably get to some over there at 7,100, but mostly just Green and Thompson for me. Where are you at on Houston?
Yeah, I actually really like that green shout, first of all. I think it's a good spot for him, a good price
Mhm.
point, even with Fred VanVleet in. So I think he's firmly playing tournaments. And then I think we have to just leave Amon in the player pool. Like, not a great price here, but, Amon's a great producer. So I think I prefer Green to Amon, like you mentioned, but both are great plays in tournaments. And then I wanted to hear your take on Sengun here. I think he's a decent center play. Um, but what's your kind of take here with Sengun?
I mean, I like him. It's just I don't know. Again, I think some of the best value on the slates at center, not like super cheap value, but like in the mid range. We have Nick Richards and Jared
Yeah.
Allen in the same game we're about to talk about. We got Durant on the other side. I think it's easier for them to get there in terms of point per dollar. I know Sangoon's coming off a great game. I think he did a little bit more ball handling than usual with Van Fleet out though. Had 6 assists there, so he's a good tournament play. Definitely under owned for what he's capable of. But like I said, I think the value you could feel best about today does come at the center position. So it's just a little bit tough for me to get there. But if you're getting to him, I'm not going to tell you not to play him. His ceiling is still 50 plus points, even with Van Fleet back.
Yeah, it's
Just
kind of my take there. Is I think he's solid, probably a little bit under owned, but it's a good spot
mhm.
for him, I think, in tournaments.
Yeah, it's just a tough spot to pay up at center. But I did want to just mention
Yeah,
more on Jalen Green. Coming off 7 straight games where he's made 4+3 pointers, been super aggressive lately. The shot's falling for him. The price really hasn't moved. So again, we were on Thompson heavily. The price is up now. I still like him, but I do agree with you. I think Green's kind of the smash here. If there is anything from Houston, we're going to prioritize. All
yep,
right.
yep.
I don't know that I can get through every chat today, guys, for the sake of time, but I'll try. We got Eagles saying, "What's up, fam?" If you're an Eagles fan, congrats on the game yesterday. Richards Phoenix, good price on FanDuel, right there with you, Unicorn. Savage saying, "What's up?" We got Daniel Blanchard in here saying, "Whitmore's been solid on the other side." Eaton was that man last time around too. Yeah, it's true, man. I mean, he could get there. It's just we're gonna see Eaton start to get more minutes slowly. Landon Oakley, another guy who's always in here. Appreciate you coming in, Landon, on a Monday afternoon. But let's keep plugging right away. Next game on the board, we have the Timberwolves taking on the Grizzlies. Timberwolves side of things, some moving parts we're waiting on, right? We got Gobert questionable. I tend to think he plays. Don't know for sure though. It is the middle of the afternoon, so maybe he's kind of off his regular routine. But if he's in, I mean, he's fine. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then Dante DiVincenzo's out. So Edwards has kind of taken this huge step forward with DiVincenzo in at point guard, but we did see him continue to put up numbers even last game out with Mike Conley starting. Conley looks great as value. Even just taking off the Minnesota tag, sorting by value, I think he's up there. Yeah, he's top 5 over on DK, number 4 in terms of value rating over on FanDuel. I know he's not the most attractive play in terms of upside. It's not really flashy or anything like that. But if you're getting 26 minutes from Conley, I do like him. I think he's one of the safer value guards. We'll talk about Edwards. I mean, he's another guy who I think is solid compared to some of the other payups, maybe a little bit overowned. And then if Gobert's in, too cheap. If he's out, Nas Reed becomes the smash of all smash plays. He's already been really solid off the bench. But just keep in mind, if Gobert's out, you're going to want all the Nas Reed. Randall's fine, kind of priced where he should be. Same can be said for Jaden, not Jalen McDaniels, who continues to put up decent numbers. Super popular though. Not a guy who's always heavily involved on offense. He has a floor, probably lower than the field is suggesting. I still like him as a piece, but I don't know. A guy who usually doesn't see over 15% usage, not someone I'm clamoring to play pushing 40% on both sides. So, where you at on Minnesota right now? Obviously, the Gobert news is kind of paramount.
Yeah, so I think Minnesota here on paper, one of the best teams to target.
Mhm.
Super high total here, 237 total. You mentioned it. If Gobert sits, Nas Reed already looks great in tournaments. He would look even better. So I think it starts with Nas here. Love him on both sides. And then Jaden McDaniels projected to be pretty chalky here as well. I think he's firmly in play. Obviously, good spot for his price. And then I love that Mike Conley shout. He's been going off here with a Dante out, and I think he looks really good here in tournaments. So love Conley at his ownership. I think that's a really sharp call.
Yeah, again, there's not a ton of great value on the slate, even with a few guys out for some of these teams. Conley, I think, at least feels like he has a pretty high floor. Don't know that you get a ton of upside out of him. It was funny, though, that first game with DiVincenzo out, I think he had like 18 points in the first half, fantasy points, and he did nothing in the second half. I don't know if that game blew out or what, but just something to note. But yeah, man, definitely one of the best spots on the slate. 237 point total. I believe that is the highest, or it's tied for the highest. But then on the other side of this game, we do have the Grizzlies. John Morant is available. That was news earlier in the day. Still no Vince Williams, Marcus Smart, both out, and then a few G Leaguers aren't going to be available, but they're pretty much healthy for the most part. We have seen Jaw kind of capped in terms of his minutes around 30. Still think he is upside. Not the best matchup for him, but where you're getting him at a discount over or under some of the other guards, I don't mind it. Interestingly, I mean, Santi Aldama getting the most love over on DK. I think he's kind of a logical pivot off of a chalkier McDaniels, but as he becomes more popular, I'm kind of hesitant to go there. I don't hate it, but at the same time, I can't say I'm like rushing to him or anything like that. I've been playing some Kennard. Don't feel as good about it today with Morant in and available. If I were playing something off the bench, I mean, I don't mind Aldama, but Kennard's right there with me, and no one's playing Kennard, and Aldama's very popular. So I don't mind Kennard in tournaments. definitely some risk, but I do still think he plays over 20 minutes. Jalen Wells, I don't feel great about. Bain and Jackson are fine, just kind of priced where they should be. But this game does have a massive total. And if we're getting a ton of Minnesota, I think logically speaking, we may want some of these Grizzlies as well. How are you handling this one?
Yeah, so I think you pretty much nailed it here. Santi Aldama, I think he's fine on both sides. I can't say that I love it here. 20% on DK. I think he looks fine. On a slate where we're kind of lacking value, I don't hate it. And then the rest of Memphis here, like I feel like I'd like to get to Jaw because of this game total, but with so many good spend ups, it's like I'm trying to figure out how much Jaw I realistically want here. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm kind of just like neutral with Jaw. I kind of wanted to hear your take on him, but yeah, pretty much
Yeah.
just Aldama right now for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like, I do like the little bit of a discount, but the ceiling's capped if he's only going to play 30 minutes. I think Bain, like, if you're really looking for a play for Memphis, is probably the safest. I do want to bring this up on the Aldama play, too, though. So the last two games Memphis played came against San Antonio. Wemby kind of crushes E, obviously, not surprising. Aldama was a better matchup for them to have in there against Wemby. I think that's why we saw such extended minutes. It wouldn't shock me to see that kind of swing the other way today. So maybe Edie is a sneaky guard, center value. I think we have better options. We don't necessarily need to go there, but that's enough for me to maybe pump the brakes a little bit on Aldama if he's going to be popular. But just wanted to mention that the Spurs, obviously, a very different matchup than the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I agree there
Um,
for sure.
nice, man. Let's see here. And honestly, I'd love to get a little bit more news so we get some better value. Van Negro Jones, Nas Reed for the win. Yeah, man, even if Gobert's in, I don't mind it. Shouts out Jeff Byrne. One of my good buddies in the DFS space saying Jaden looks like decent value. Yeah, he does, man. Definitely going to be chalky, though. I know how you feel about chalky value, but he looks good. Nice early slate for the folks in the UK. Love to hear it. Zion is out. That game is not on the slate, Daniel. Definitely appreciate the news regardless. And then question from Jason Jordan. Do we think Gigi is going to play? So he's been out for a while. He is back and available. I don't know. I don't think he plays enough to matter. Maybe enough for you to not want to play Edie or Aldama, but I'm not getting any Greg Jackson right now. How about you, Jayhawk?
Yeah, should play. I just don't know how much I'll get for DFS.
Yeah, I don't even think we have in the model. A player only enters the model when they have 10 plus minutes projected, so I would hold off on that. Do we think Hart and Towns are playing? Personally, I do. They've surprised us lately a little bit with those guys being ruled out. We're going to get to that game, I think, next, so we'll talk about that soon. If you're playing three people from the same team, do you usually run it back with at least one? There's no 100% firm answer to this, and I'll tell you why. If everyone's healthy, it does kind of make sense. But if you have a team and like their two-star players are out, and you're loading up on value. You don't necessarily need the run back. It kind of depends on the slate. Smaller slate, I do kind of like stacking a little bit because if the game does go to OT, you're obviously going to be an outlier. But generally speaking, I wouldn't set that rule firmly. Do we like playing Tatum and Brown together on a small slate? You can take those two together. Jayhawk, like, would you play those two together? And are you fine not running it back if you're playing three from the same team?
Yeah, I think it's fine to run together. I don't usually like running it, but on a five gamer, I think it's probably okay today.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And as I mentioned, we are getting to the Hawks and the Knicks game here. So, bit of a rivalry, especially in the Garden. Trey Young loves to play here. Everybody knows that. And yeah, 237-point total. So, right there with the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies is one of the more appealing games. No Larry Nance, no Zach Reasher. Keaton Wallace is out. Trey Young is in improbable, as is Jalen Johnson. So, Atlanta a little banged up, but not as much as they have been lately. Trey, kind of surprised he's not getting more love. The field has gotten sharper over the years, but they still love to play into these narratives. Like I think we're under projecting his ownership slightly. Did come in under 50 fantasy points the last time he played the Knicks, but some of the biggest games of this guy's career have come against New York, especially in the Garden. Don't mind it. Jalen Johnson as well. I think he's better on FanDuel where he's 600 cheaper, but at a pretty thin power forward position, especially in terms of payups. I think he has some appeal to me. It's mostly just Trey here for me on Atlanta, man. Again, I think the rotation's a little bit deeper than it has been lately. I don't mind a Kongu off the bench, especially on FanDuel where you could play him at power forward. But other than that, man, for such a good game environment, I wish I was getting a bit more. I do like Trey. I want to come in over that number. Sub 10% seems crazy to me. And then, yeah, a Kongu I think is pretty sneaky today as well on both sides, honestly. But where are you at on Atlanta?
Yeah, I love that Trey Young call. He just always plays good in New York here. Loves playing against New York, so love training tournaments at that price. Kind of like Cade earlier, and then Okongwu. He's been great for Atlanta here. With how many good centers we have today, I don't love it, but he's still in play. I think, in my opinion. So like it on Yeka in tournaments, and then I love that Jalen Johnson Cole. He's too cheap on FanDuel, 8,200. Really like that Jalen Johnson Cole, especially over on FanDuel.
Yeah, man. And again, for such a high total, it's a little bit surprising this team isn't drawing more ownership, especially over on DK, where nobody is over 6%, which is what we're seeing on Trey Young. I think a big reason that ownership is low, though, is because we do have Jalen Brunson, on the other side. Let's just talk through the Knicks injuries. So, yeah, as someone brought up, Hart and Towns both questionable. I haven't seen anything on this. Have you this morning?
Yeah, I think we should see Cat.
Like, do they
Well,
even? No, go ahead. I didn't mean to
it's
cut you off.
no, you're good. I think he probably plays, but it's been so difficult to predict him being in or out.
Yeah, it's strange. Like you would think they would go today. With it being an early game, I don't even know if they had a shoot around. Cat's been
Yeah,
out since the 12th, so he's been out for a while. I think Hart is pretty safe to say that he's going to play, but at the same time, I mean, they've definitely surprised us at times this year. So I think for now, we just have to kind of assume they're both in. I like Cat. I think he looks good. I think he's overowned considering, again, the best value on the slate probably does come at center. Brunson feels too cheap here. Again, Trey loves this matchup, but so does Brunson. Obviously, going to see more usage for him if Cat is out, but at the same time, I do think he's a bit cheap for his upside. And then if Hart's out, obviously that's going to benefit guys like OG and Bridges. Tough for me to call either a priority. Right now, assuming this team's healthy, I like Cat. I really, really like Brunson, though. Other than that, I think these guys are kind of priced where they should be. You kind of mix them in as last pieces. The price on Hart, if everyone's healthy, does feel a little bit inflated, but he's been solid lately. So I do like the Knicks here. Can't say I love them, though, but the field, this is one of the more popular teams on both sides. Where you at, Jayhawk?
yeah. I think New York here looks awesome. Obviously, 237 total. Assuming Cat does play here, I think both him and Brunson look awesome up top. I was getting slightly more Brunson than I was Cat, just because I'm getting a bunch of Drew Allen. We'll cover him later, but yeah, I think both of them look great. I am slightly noting for Brunson's matchup against Dyson Daniels, but he still looks awesome here. So love Brunson, love Cat. And then if Hart for some reason misses, you nailed it. Bridges and OG should both get pretty big bumps. So I already think those guys are in play at their ownerships, but they would look even better here if Hart did miss. So yeah, love those shots there.
Yeah, man, I'm actually pretty happy you brought up the matchup with Daniels. I know here at Occupy we always talk about how we don't want to double count stats. We don't want to dig too deep into these one-on-one matchups, but I was just kind of going through the recent game logs and yeah, Daniels has done a pretty damn good job on Brunson. Maybe that opens up the wings. Maybe Bridges is the guy who benefits. It could be OG. I feel better about Bridges just knowing he's going to take like 7 to 10 threes. So maybe I get to more Bridges now, lower my Brunson exposure just a little bit. But again, I don't think we want to overthink this. They certainly do have ways to get him open if they need to, but
Yeah,
enough for me if he's the most popular guard on the slate to maybe come a little bit under the field. So definitely appreciate
yeah,
that shout. Go ahead.
just wanted to throw that out there because Dyson's probably one of the top defenders. Just wanted to note that.
Yeah, there's only a few that are even ever worth talking about. He's one of them. I mean, Dort, when you throw a guy into the torture chamber. I mean, Herb Jones, when he's healthy at times, looks really good. But yeah, I mean, that's the big one right now. Daniels has been excellent on defense, a lot against a lot of guards if you go through the game by game. So in this next game here, we do have some of the better value. We got the Suns taking on the Cavs. I feel like every game is 237 point total today. That's what we're looking at again here. So Beal is questionable, interestingly enough. He has been coming off the bench. Other than that, just Nurk is out, but it seems like the Suns are kind of done with him. No one can trade for him because of his contract, and they have no picks to sign with him. Just kind of stuck with him. But they do have Nick Richards now as the starting center. He feels too cheap on both sides. He looks good here. Really do like him on DK. Don't mind pairing him with Allen in the same game, and we'll talk about Cleveland in a minute. Again, Booker and Durant have been seeing increased usage with Beal coming off the bench for a few extra minutes. I think they look fine here. If you're desperate for value, Ryan Dunn looks fine. Not going to get to Beal, I don't think. He does feel a little cheap for what he's capable of. And then Grayson Allen as the last piece in, 1% owned. We've talked about the McDanielses of the world. It wouldn't surprise me if Allen were to outscore him. But right now, I think Richards probably my favorite Suns play. Don't mind mixing in Durant or Booker. But yeah, Nick Richards it is. Where are you at on Phoenix right now?
Yeah, I actually like that Nick Richards shout here. First of all, 5,200, 5,800. I think he's a center that should be firmly in play here. Super high DK and FanDuel value on Richards
Mhm.
here. So love that shout here. And then in terms of Booker and KD, I think they're both fine. I think I'd rather get to other studs if you're building, 20 max or a single build, but it's just a tough spot here for them. But they're still in play. I'm kind of looking elsewhere in terms of spendos.
Yeah, I get it, man. And again, Richards' rating is the second best value play on both sides for us right now. So definitely someone you want to keep an eye on. Cleveland, tough matchup. Maybe not as tough as usual today, though, because Evan Mobley is out. No Isaac Okoro either. Other than that, they just got a few G Leaguers on the injury report. So this is a team we're going to have to keep an eye on the starting lineup. We could see Levert become a starter, in which case he's going to look excellent. I think even off the bench, he's a solid play. Definitely feel better about him when he's starting, though. This hasn't always been the case, but this year it kind of seems to be the trend. Likely see Dean Wade in at the 4. Max Strus has been in and healthy, often outperforming him off the bench. Excuse me. I think both these guys look fine, but I will say it's really tough to choose between the two of Strus and Dean Wade. Smash of all smash plays here is Jared Allen. Obviously, with Mobley out, he's going to see increased rebounding opportunity, increased usage, coming off a couple shaky games and tough matchups. Huge bounce back spot here. I think Allen's one of the best plays on the slate. The field is getting to him pretty aggressively, but I like him. And then over on FanDuel, a bit overpriced, but you could play him at power forward. So it definitely makes building around him a little bit easier. Garland looks great. Mitchell kind of inconsistent. Definitely has upside, though. You could always play him at low ownership. For me, core plays in this game are probably Garland and Allen. I don't mind getting to Mitchell if I could find a little bit of extra salary, though, to upgrade Garland. But yeah, if Levert starts, total smash. If he comes off the bench, I still like him. And then one more shout, just Ty Jerome dirt cheap over on DK. Should get a few extra minutes today with Mobley out. Only needs 20 minutes or so to hit that value at 3,400. One of the better cheap values, in my opinion. Cleveland, one of the best teams on the board, I think. Where are you at on them, Jayhawk?
Yeah, so I think you nailed it here. Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen both look awesome. We did see LeVert slide into the starting five last game with Mobley out. He just didn't produce very well. But if he's in the starting lineup here once again, I think he's going to look great. And then Darius Garland, I did slightly prefer Mitchell in the last game. But I think he's firmly in play here, 34, 43% on FanDuel. I like him. I think the ownership is kind of spread out too much. Obviously, Donovan has a huge ceiling too. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I might try to get more Mitchell, probably match the field around Garland. And then the Ty Jerome call, I just don't know what to do with him. I think he's fine. Probably too cheap on DraftKings, 3,400. But assuming Karras starts, I think Karras will be the cheap guy to lock in here.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. Karras did start last game, played 25 minutes, but really struggled against the Timberwolves. But that was mostly because Mitchell was having like one of his best games of the season, 59 points on both
Yeah.
sides, 44% usage. I think against Phoenix, that's going to have to level out a bit. But yeah, again, Jerome, it's not like I think he's the safest play in the world. But coming off the bench, 20 minutes for him, when he's on the floor, he has around a 20% usage rate, which at that price is kind of appealing to me. So, again, there's a lot of value here. I would just keep an eye on ownership. I think Wade's over-owned on FanDuel, if we're being honest. Your shout, though, to upgrade to Mitchell if you can over Garland makes sense. Coming in at 1/3 of the ownership, you do have to find a
Yeah.
bit more salary to get there, though. But we do certainly have to keep an eye on that starting lineup. Let's check out chat, see where we're at. What's a good guard? I mean, there's a few. Sorting by OF index, I mean, Trey is at the top for us today. We got Brunson, Booker, sorting by value. Conley, probably my favorite cheap guard. You got to pay up in a value you like, Jayhawk, as far as guards go?
Yeah, I'll say I do really like Conley for value. And then in terms of spend ups, I'm gonna say someone that you didn't mention. I'll just say I like Anthony Edwards a lot here in tournaments, so I'll just say Ant.
Nice, man. Yeah, definitely. Shout out Big J Grams in here. Another one of our regular viewers was in first all night in the $1 starting five until the last 3 minutes. Yeah, man, I hate when that happens. Some blowouts late. I had a situation too where that kind of affected my night, but is what it is. On to the next. Dort was terrible yesterday. Yeah, not always the best fantasy producer, better defender, real life NBA player. And can you play Garland and Booker together? Yeah, I don't see why not. You got any problem with that, Jay?
No, you can definitely put them together for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no negative correlation between those two. They could both have a big game. All right, we're making great time today, man. We're into the 5 o'clock game here. We got the Celtics taking on the Warriors. Not quite the rivalry it used to be. Still could be pretty competitive though. No one really injured for Boston of any sort of significance. We have seen them add guys late in the day, so definitely keep an eye on things. But right now, only G Leaguers on the injury report. So this is a healthy team. I think Tatum and Brown look good, but yeah, it's just one of these guys probably has a ceiling game. Will they both? I don't know. Porzingis, another guy you could mix in. His minutes have ticked up a little bit lately. Always fine getting to Drew at his price. Pritchard, I wouldn't play unless one of these guys were to be ruled out. Derek White, the price has come down a bit. I still think he's a bit overpriced for his general upside. But yeah, Boston, just one of these teams, healthy, priced where they should be. Not going to talk anyone off playing any of the starters, but I'm not getting there too aggressively right now. Jayhawk, how about you?
Yeah, all of these guys just I think all look fine. Obviously Tatum and Brown probably the guys that project the best point per dollar. And this matchup in particular, I kind of lean Jalen Brown, but I mean it's so close. So I think all the big three, Kristaps, Tatum, Brown, all in play. But I don't really have like a gut lean with any of these guys.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I will say, as far as minutes go, Brown and Tatum both projected for 5 more minutes than KP, but obviously KP's cheaper. Probably an even better
Yeah.
matchup for him with Draymond out. But let's talk about Golden State now. Another source of value today. We were definitely looking for it. We're getting some of that here. Kyle Anderson's out. Steph Curry's questionable. I expect him to play. Something to keep an eye on, though. Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, and Brandon Pods are all out. Yeah, I'm going to assume Curry's in because we already got a lot to talk about here. Um, I think we see Guy Santos start again. I've liked this kid. I think he's cheap enough to play. Only played 8 minutes against Washington. I think Draymond played that game, though. Don't quote me on that entirely. But if he starts, I think he's someone we could consider his value right now, rating pretty highly, but below both Moses Moody and Kevin Looney coming off the bench. TJD, I think, is getting a little bit overlooked today. We talk about how there's a lot of good centers in this price range, but sub 10% on DK, where you could play two centers, a little bit surprising to me. Obviously, not the best matchup, but with Draymond unavailable, it definitely boosts his upside. Still no Kaminga either, so getting more usage when he is in there with the second unit. FanDuel, power forward eligibility. So I don't know. I don't mind TJD. And then Schroeder, I usually don't like playing him unless Curry's out. If Curry's out, he's going to look excellent here. He has been a bit better lately on DK, where he's only 5,100. I don't think it's insane. But more than anything here, I do like TJD. I'll ask you about Buddy Hield. I never get him right. But yeah, Guy Santos, pretty interesting to me if he gets to start. Where you at on these Warriors?
Yeah, man, I love that TJD call. I think kind of people are kind of overlooking how big Draymond being out is for his minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I love TJD at his ownership on both sides here. It is a tough matchup, but he's still a great producer, so love that shout. And then Wiggins and Curry were chalk a couple of slates ago. Again, a tougher spot here, but like I don't hate getting to either one. Wiggins in particular. I think his price point's pretty good on both sides. So 10 to 11%. I don't hate that call. And then Dennis Schroeder, I mean, how many times I feel like we say this, like we think like I think he's fine, but at 33% ownership, that seems so high to me on FanDuel. So I'll probably try to come in underweight if I do play over there. So that's kind of my take there with Golden State.
Yeah, man, I think you're right on point today, and yeah, it's interesting with Schroeder. I mean, next to Curry, he kind of plays a different role. If he takes over and Curry's out, we're definitely going to need to get to some of them at that price. But I
Yeah.
think Curry plays. I'd be surprised if he didn't in Boston. And Wiggins coming off the best game of his season, 31 real points, 11 boards. I didn't mention him in my first little rant. I probably should have. Sub 10% on both sites. Definitely a solid forward play. So I do probably want to get some exposure to him as well. I will say this game is the widest spread. It's not wide enough to really worry about a blowout. Nice to see all these games project to be relatively competitive today. So hopefully that rings true. One last look at chat, and we do have time for a quick dummy build. Cal saying he meant Garland and Mitchell. Could you play them together? Honestly, yeah, at their prices, I don't mind it. Again, with Mobley out, I think you can make it work. If Mobley was in, I'd say no. But how about you, Jayhawk?
Yeah, I think it's fine with Garland and Mitchell. I feel like you kind of want to maximize Mitchell's upside at his price,
Yeah.
but they're both so cheap and at 230 total. I think you probably play both.
Yeah, and usually we'd say no, but it's just a 5 game slate. If this is one of the games that
Yeah,
really goes off and Mobley's out, you could still get there. So, Cal, that's fine if that's where you're landing. So, quick dummy build here, man. And I think I want to start
yeah,
with Jared Allen. He's probably my
yeah.
favorite play point per dollar today. Where are we going next?
Ooh, that's difficult. Probably Nas or McDaniels. I think probably Nas, honestly.
Yeah, for only a few hundred more, I like Nas more. I just think he has more upside. From that same team, do we want to go with Conley for value?
I like it. Yeah, I think he's a good play.
Yeah, it's not the most exciting play, but it's going to allow us to maybe get 2 pay-ups instead of one. 6,900 per we're looking at now. I'm trying to think where else do we have injury news? I mean, Cleveland, probably some spots to look. I mean, we're still waiting
Karis
on
LeVert
this.
is he just got listed as questionable, so he might not play
Hmm.
now.
Okay, yeah, late
Yeah,
questionable tag, usually a bad sign. If Levert's out, I think they're probably going to start Struce and Wade, which would be interesting. Makes me like Allen even more. Um,
yeah.
tricky. I think we do go
Strus is
double.
3,800.
Struce is 38. Yeah, that's probably the play.
Yeah, he should. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we could go ahead and
uh,
plug him in. It's one or Struce or Wade. I do feel a little bit better about Struce, I think.
yeah, that's kind of my lane too. I hate playing Dean White, man. Everyone talks about him. He burned me. Like he's from K State. I watched him play at K State. He's just not a good player, man. I've gotten burned by that guy way too many times.
Yeah, you need him to hit like 3 or 4 threes, or you're screwed every time. So,
Yeah,
not something he's doing consistently. All right, let's take a look here. Small forward. I mean, we could start to pay up, but um, I don't know. I don't mind Bridges if we're gonna say Daniels is on. What's his name? Daniels is going to be glued to Brunson. Maybe that opens the wing up for Bridges or Anunoby. Not that either are super safe. Oh, Wiggins looks really good.
yeah. We go Wiggins, and I like those two New York shots, especially for not getting Brunson.
Okay.
Let's try,
Do you want to
let's
go
see
Trey in
here.
the Garden?
Yeah, I love that. I love Trey tonight in
Yeah,
tournaments, or
let's
I
go.
guess today.
Yeah, let's go Trey in the Garden. Then we could go Bridges at forward, and then I think we could make this a 2 center build at 8,600. I mean, we're up to Jaren Jackson if we wanted him. I don't think we do. Donovan Mitchell looks pretty damn good. I mean, yeah, we could almost upgrade Struce if we didn't trust it, or just
Yeah,
have another pay up here. I want to see something real quick. If we went Richards at center at util, Struce becomes. I mean, we're so close
yeah,
to the
not a
plays, not quite there. If we go Bridges, just moving some things around. We got 72 for a forward. It's like a no man's land. It's like just a dead range.
yeah. We can take out Wiggins. We can take out Wiggins, see what we can get here.
Yeah, let's go Wiggins. I mean, we could have any forward we want. Um,
The guy I kind of like in GPPs. I'm trying to remember how I liked here. Um, Obviously Jaden McDaniels is cheap, but we already have Nas, so
yeah,
um,
I wouldn't mind that, but I'm with you. I mean, if what were we left with Tatum? Just curious. 35. That's probably not ideal. Key Santos, Moody,
Santos.
probably not Tatum. Or you mentioned Jalen. Does he have forward eligibility? Jalen Brown.
Jalen. Yeah, I like Brown. Yeah, I like that.
This is a little bit better of a balance. But again, we got to move some things around. I don't love Dylan Brooks here necessarily. You guys, you're seeing the core plays wrong. We're getting close. So yeah, I think that's all. Let me just check chat one last time. Levert questionable now. Yeah, Ricardo, that's
Yeah,
huge. If he's out, obviously not a situation where we're going to get to a ton more Cleveland. I did mention Ty Jerome as kind of sneaky value. I think he'd look even better even off the bench. Wade and auto fade count. I'm
definitely.
not going to argue with you on that. But
I
yeah,
agree with that.
takes Jayhawk. I know you're in Discord in about 10 minutes, but pretty fun slate to piece through today. Appreciate everyone tuning in.
Yeah, fun slate here. Try to target the 230 over under games if you can, just because we have like 4 of them today. So, which is kind of more than typical. So,
yeah, one other thing I'll say is the games are kind of staggered today. First game at 2 Eastern, then 2:30, 3:30, and then we don't have that Boston Golden State game till late. If you're expecting to play Santos or you don't know if Curry's going to be in or out, just make sure you kind of have a couple spots available to pivot if the news breaks in a different way than we're expecting. Other than that, pretty straightforward slate. Definitely appreciate everyone. Please check the links in the description below to get access to the model you see here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps us get more free content out to you. And yeah, good luck. Let's crush it. Take care, everyone.
good luck, guys. Appreciate it.